Okay, welcome everybody to episode 57, live from my drum room. Today, I have my very special guest, the legendary Kenney Jones, who's waiting patiently in the green room for me. Thanks everybody for tuning in today, and thanks for everybody who's been watching all the past shows. Kenney, you might recall, was on with me a few weeks ago with a bunch of other drummers. So today it's just me and Kenney. Going to cover a lot of things in a not very long time. I do want to mention that next week I have scheduled on Monday, the 8th of November, Sean Pelton, longtime Saturday Night Live drummer, will be joining me live from the drum room. That's next Monday, the 8th of November. And that's I think it's at 1 p.m., but don't trust me on that one. So the usual story. Don't forget to subscribe to my podcast, to the YouTube channel. Appreciate everybody tuning in. And I think really to keep the show moving along, I'm going to welcome my very special guest, Kenney Jones. And there he is. Hi, Kenney.
Yeah. Hang on, I've got to give it. Continue. There you go. Done.
Yeah, good. You can hear me okay, and I can hear you okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah, good. Kenney, thanks for being here. As I said earlier, it's great to have you back, and thank you again for being part of that little tribute to Charlie we did a few weeks ago. It was.
I really enjoyed that. I wish I could have stayed longer, but I had to go somewhere.
I understand. Yeah, I know it was. I think by the time we got it going, it was pretty late over on your side of the pond.
How long did it go on for when I left?
Maybe not that much longer. Maybe about 20 or so minutes, if that. Yeah. Oh, once you left, it wasn't fun anymore. So, well, so, I know you don't have a whole lot of time, and I've got a whole lot of things to ask you about. So, sort of trying to be chronological. First of all, I do want to tell you that a mutual friend of ours, Dave Maddox, sends his best.
Yeah, lovely guy.
Yeah, he said the same about you. He mentioned the record you guys did together with Joan Armor Trading.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And
got me some emotion.
Yeah. So, and you played, I think, a bunch of tracks on your own, and then he did, and then you played some double drumming tracks too. And
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And Glyn Johns was our engineer, which is very fortunate because he gets me a great drum sound. Always have done.
Yeah. Did he engineer a lot of the faces stuff too, Glyn Johns?
Glyn did the small faces right from day one, and right the way through to the faces. So I've been very fortunate to actually have a great. Well, Glyn Johns, when he started with us, was an engineer. Then he became a producer after he finished with us. But it became like one of the band. So it's very easy to work with. Not everyone would say that because it's sometimes he can get a bit shirty, like most producers do. But he was great with me. We were fine. And one day I said to him, Glyn, I said, look, people have been asking me how many mics I had on my drum kit. How did you mic me up? And how'd you get that great sound? And he said, it's you silly son. I said, what do you mean? He said, all I did was put a couple of overheads on, one overhead, and a close mic to snare, and that's it. So wow. I captured the sound of your drums in the room. We've actually got the room sound, like the ambient sound.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I know that's his technique, that ambient, natural sound. And just to jump back to that, so the Small Faces formed in the mid 60s, 65 or so.
Yeah.
And you were like 16, 17 when the band formed?
I think I was just turned 16 when we actually signed a contract with Don Arden. I had a hit record in the charts before I knew it. My God, I swept off my feet and I haven't looked back since.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Look, funny enough, I've just got this album, just seen it lying around on purpose. This is an album that's very rare. It's out on my record label, Nice Records, and it's really a one-off. It's a recording we didn't realize was being recorded. In fact, we found it all these years later, and it's a club. It's recorded in Belgium in a club called the 20 Club, and it's us live. It's the earliest recording of us complete. So it's fantastic. We did tracks on it like Ooh Poopy Doo. I can't remember. Ooh, it's silly name, isn't it? Ooh Poopy Doo. You Need Loving. So you can see where Plum Nelly, Baby Please Don't Go, Parchment Farm, Land of a Thousand Dancers, What You Gonna Do About It, Coming Home Babe, and on the other side, oh, you don't turn them over, you just play one side, don't you? Come On Children, Grow Your Own, Please Please, Strange, You Need Loving, Coming Home Baby, E57, and What You Gonna Do About It. So
Wow.
I recommend this. It's a really, really great one. I really love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna absolutely. I'm fascinated by the fact that you were so young and playing so maturely. You know. So how old were you when you started playing drums? How long had you been playing at that point?
I got my first drum kit when I was just 13, and then I turned 14 quicker. So I mean, like literally a month later.
Yeah.
So, and I when I started to play, when I got my first drum kit, it was a white Olympic set, which I paid £64, 13 shillings and 5 pence, I think, something like that, in old money. Yeah, it's a great little kit because it had calf skins on it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's a great. I mean, it just taught me a lot. Once I got that kit, and it was a proper little kit. It belonged to a jazz drummer before me.
Yeah, it's with yeah.
The cymbals I discovered later on when I thought, what's that horrible noise after a while? When you get used to knowing what drums are, and it was the tin cymbals. They were fucking awful. But you know, the great thing about about having the calf skins on all the drums, especially the snare, was that once I got the brushes and I got used to the brushes, it got the great, lovely sound
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
calf skins were all rough, and it's a fantastic sound.
Were you playing a lot of brushes when you started? When like
Yeah, I did. I played a lot of brushes. I used to love. I still do, but I don't play enough brushes. It's all rock and roll now.
yeah, yeah.
I love jazz, so I'm playing jazz with sticks, modern brushes. I love to do some slower songs with. Sometimes I do when I did sessions. I did a sort of a brush with right hand and a stick cross stick with the left hand. Yeah,
Yeah.
can't.
I've seen some videos of you where you play quite a bit traditional grip. So I wondered if that was like if you had sort of a jazz background like Charlie, you know, where
Oh
you
yeah,
played with yeah, with
yeah.
that grip.
This one. Sorry, this is the only stick I've got lying around. It's my grandchildren's sticks, and they're all over the house. I can only find one. Yeah, cross that way.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
the right balance. It's fantastic. Yeah, playing this way, I love it because you know most drummers they can really get their rocks off and sort of do all your rudiments and paradiddles and whatever this way.
Yeah. Yep.
Holding it that way.
Yeah. I started that way as well. And then I switched to I play left-handed, but I started traditional and switched to matched. And I'm
Yeah,
trying to get back to the original way because I feel it's more comfortable playing the rudiments that way.
it's funny because rock and roll. I mean, I tend to play that way around. You know, with the heavy bit around that way.
Yeah.
I find I can get more crack out of it. You know, I can get enough bounce and do all the paradiddles and stuff with it, but you know, it's kind of, I don't know, but that way it's great.
So Kenny, let me ask you, by the time you guys, the Small Faces, started recording like Itchycoo Park and all the big songs you guys had in the 60s, were those still the premier? Was it still the Olympic kit you were using, or had you moved to the Ludwig? I think I
No,
saw Ludwig.
the minute we had a hit record, I went to Shaftesbury Avenue to a drum shop called Drum City.
Yeah, sure.
It's
Yeah.
quite famous in its day,
Hmm.
and I bought a silver Ludwig kit, a standard kit, you know, and I played that for a bit, and I don't know what happened to that. And then I swapped it in for. I went back to Drum City after a while, after using that for a little while, and then I went to get something. I don't know where it was. I went to get some sticks or something, and I was in there, and in the queue was Mick Jagger in front of me, and there was a long queue. So I thought, what am I going to buy? So he's in front. He gets to the top, and he went to the counter, and he said, "Got any maracas?" so I started laughing, and then this guy came out and said, "Oh, Kenny," he said, "I'm glad you come in." He said, "Pasty Cymbals have wanted me to give you this cymbal. It was a huge cymbal, 26-inch cymbal. I couldn't believe it. It's a big thing. It's heavier than me."
Yeah.
So that was good. And on that same day, right at that time, out the corner of my eye, I saw this black Ludwig kit piled up on top of another. I was just standing there with no sign saying for sale or anything. So I said to the salesman, I said, "What's that? What's that kit doing there?" And he said, "Oh, Brian Bennett's just brought that in from the Shadows. He wants to sell it." I said, "I'll have it," because I'm a massive fan of Brian Bennett and the Shadows. So I had to have it. So I bought it straight there and then. And that's the kit I played all the Small Faces records on.
Wow.
Not knowing. And then when I spoke to, and Brian's a good friend of mine, he wants it back. He can't have it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I said, "No, look, we'll share it if we want." Because he had a fire in his house and in his studio, and all his drums got burnt. But I said we'll share it, and he told me, he said, "I've recorded all the Shadows hits on that."
Wow.
I said, "Well, I recorded all the Small Faces hits on it, and all the Faces hits, and all the other ones on it in the early days." So we were kind of tug of war.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, it's nice that you can share it. Is that the same kit you used to record like "Stay With Me"? Were you still using it at that point?
No, I think "Stay With Me." I probably had the Tartan drum kit probably by then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or one of the other ones, the Ludwig ones. Or
You had a blonde kit too, right? Like a wood kit.
yeah, a maple kit. Yeah, no,
Maple kit. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a. I had two. One a Premier and one a Ludwig, and what are the other ones? My Licorice All Sorts kit, I call it. It's a stripes around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen that one. Yeah.
And sort of the evolution of the Small Faces becoming the Faces, and I sort of think I know the history, but I've always wanted to talk to you about this. But was it basically Steve Marriott leaving the band that sort of ended the Small Faces, and you reformed with like Ronnie Lane? And
that's why this album was, you can see, well, once you listen to it, this is why we should have continued with this kind of early music that we did. It was kind of, oh, you have to listen to it. It's great.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can and get influence from. But no, what happened was it soon became apparent that we had to do commercial records. So once we knew that there was more money in writing songs and things like that, because other people were writing songs for us, and we didn't really like it, like Sha-La-La-La-Lee, a bit rinky dinky and all that, but nice song. But but we really wanted to write our own songs, so we started to write our own songs, and we became we fell into that trap of writing commercial songs, and they became hits, and God knows what. The only freedom we probably had was towards the end when we did Ogden Snuck on Flake.
Yeah.
And that was a great one to play on. But also that was our last album. Yeah, no, I think what happened was we got fed up with the Screaming Girls and the commercial records, and it kind of started to grate on us. It grated on us all. But the thing is, it got to Steve more than we realised. And we played a gig in Alexander Palace in London, and Steve, halfway through the show, he just suddenly threw the guitar down and walked off, and everyone sort of was it's stunned basically, and so everyone looked at me going, I was the only one playing, right? And so I had to do a bit of a drum solo, and I got fed up and said, threw the drumsticks down and walked off. But no, and what we did, we still had to finish the tour, so we stayed together, but we understood what Steve was all about. And that was that. But it left the three of us completely lost. So I've got to have a drink of water.
Yeah, yeah. Me too.
Oh, it's gin.
Vodka.
Okay, okay, yeah. So we all had to finish the tour, and Steve went his way. But it was a really sad time for all of us, because we were like brothers in arms, brothers in music, and we kind of grew up together in the early days of everyone learning to play their instruments collectively at the same time. And that's why I think we developed this great telepathy between us all. So we never told each other what to play. We just knew what to play. It was fantastic freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Steve went off and formed Humble Pie.
Yeah.
Leaving us with our sort of up in limbo, basically. So, but we were good friends with the Stones, and the Stones said, "Look, we've got a warehouse in Bermondsey, just over Tower Bridge. We've got it's kind of a rehearsal room. We store all our equipment in there." So then we went down there. We rehearsed a couple of times. Not rehearsed. We jammed a lot. Jammed and went up the pub. Jammed and went up the pub. Jammed and went up the pub. Went on like that. And one day, Ronnie Lane brought his new neighbour down, and that was Ronnie Wood. And Ronnie Wood walked in, and Ronnie said, "I'm just learning to play. Not learning to play. I'm just converting from bass to guitar. I want to play lead guitar." So we started to play with Ronnie all that time. And so I soon started calling Woody, because we had two Ronnies in the band at that time. I still would call him Woody. Anyway, it's Ronnie. He's Ronnie and Woody. So he was playing guitar. So we did a lot of jamming together, and then till one day, Ronnie, or Woody, brought down his best friend, which was Rod Stewart. And Rod used to sit on the amps watching us, and I kept thinking, "Oh God, I knew Rod could sing, because they were both with the Jeff Beck band at the time."
Mm.
And then Rob kept going like this, watch. So it meant drink up. So we go up the pub and get to know each other. This went on and on for a couple of weeks. And then I said, "Look, we've got to try and get to sing. We keep jamming, but let's do the vocals and all that." So Ronnie Lane sang, and it's Ronnie Lane has a great voice, but he's not really not what I call a front man.
Mm-hmm.
Like you miss Steve and that raspy voice and stuff, that great voice. And then Max started to sing. I went, "Oh yeah." I don't think a drummer can see everything. As it has the greatest seat in the house, or the worst seat in the house. And this was blown away. So, and I thought, yeah, great. I listened to the voice. Then Woody started singing, and I went, "Right, okay." And all the time I'm looking at Rod on the amp. So we started watching the up the pub. So we went up the pub, and I said to Rod, "Can I have a word with you? So let's go around the corner into the next bar." I went around here. I said, would you fancy joining the band? He went, "Oh," he said, "Do you think they'd let me?" I said, "Yeah, of course they would." And that night we went back to Alvin Lee's drinks party in a little muse flat behind Harley Street. And so I said to everyone, "Come upstairs. I want to tell you something." I said, "I've asked Rod to join the band." "Oh no, we don't want another prima donna in the band. We don't want another." I said, "Oh God." And I dug my heels in. I got my own way. So, and that's because I knew it's the difference between success and failure, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, Rob was part of the band by the time we got to know. He's just one of the lads, still is to this day. So we get along like house on fire. And that's, the test of time has shown that. But even though we've gone our separate ways and done different things, amazing things.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this was like 1969-ish when that happened, thereabouts.
Yeah, 1969, yeah.
Yeah. And so, and in the meantime, like Rod, so the Faces had formed, and Rod was the singer, and Woody's playing guitar, and Ronnie Lane and Ian McLagan, and legendary band. And then Rod goes off to do Every Picture Tells a Story as a Rod Stewart record, kind of as a separate but you come into play I'm Losing You.
Yes.
Yeah, you got called into play.
I remember I lived in Hampstead at that time, and the studio we were recording in was only like 5 minutes away. And Rod called up and said, I was watching a film, and Rod called up and said, oh, we're going to do Losing You. Can you come and play it? I said, yeah, great, no problem. I'll be right over. So I went over, did Losing You, and went back and watched the other half of the film.
So was it like one or two takes that you got the drum solo?
It was. We knew it quite well. But the thing is, there was this break in it, which is a drum break, and Rod would sort of sing and chant all over it, that bit.
Yeah.
That slowly turned into a drum solo over the years. Got longer and longer and longer, too bloody long. So yeah, I'm afraid that stuck with me.
It's it's one of the, I started playing drums not long after that record came out, and that whole record and that drum solo was such a huge influence. And it's, to me, there aren't many drum solos on a studio record. I mean, usually they're like on live albums, you hear them, and Moby Dick is another great recorded drum solo on a studio record.
When it turned into a solo, slowly and got longer and longer, and became sort of live part of the show, and then became live on an album live. So that's how it got to it. But the actual first recording we wrote on his album was actually a shorter, not a solo, just a drum break.
I see. That's interesting to know that, because what I always loved about it is unlike, like you were saying, a lot of these drum solos, but like, you can tap your foot to it. It's like it never loses the groove.
Right.
All those it's, and as a kid, when I first heard that, I couldn't put my finger on why I loved it so much. Do you know what I mean? It was like it didn't occur to me that it was so simple. Is the reason I love this is because it's the song is still going.
I think the groove was quite a good one to do, because basically I could go anywhere with it. I could start, then I'd start playing like this halfway through, and just do all my tricky stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
It's better all the showing off stuff, I've never been a show off, really.
No. And so do you remember, Kenney, was that song recorded before you recorded Stay With Me or after? I'm just curious, like the sort of timing of when those two records.
I've got to work this out. Before or after? About the same time.
About the same time. Okay.
I'm splitting it down the middle now. Compromise.
That's perfect. No, that's great. And when you went in to record I'm Losing You, was it a kit that was in the studio that you just kind of walked in and used, or did you bring your own drums in for it? Or
you know what, I've often asked myself that question. I can't remember. I think Mickey Waller was playing on, and I think I might have used his drums. I can't remember.
It sounds like the drums on the rest of the record, which I think is Mickey Waller, as you say. Yeah.
And it probably was Mickey's drums I played on. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fat, I listen to it all the time. I mean, I listen to that whole record. I listen to that song, and it's just such a great, well done, my friend. Well done.
It's funny, because it reminded me of, I called in to do a session to see Glyn Johns in the Olympic Studios on the way home. And he was recording P.P. Arnold and singing one of our songs, If You Think You're Groovy. And the drummer was there, and he was playing, and I felt so sorry for the drummer. I was in the control room watching him, and I was trying to stay out of his way, and then he kept getting it sort of not quite getting it right. A fantastic drummer, and I kept thinking, well, I know what it means, because it's a Ronnie and Steve's song. And so I went down in the studio afterwards. I said, look, it's like that,
Yeah.
Went back up, and he did it like that. And Glenn was going, no, it's not like that, it's like that. And this went on for ages. And then we're going backwards and forwards. And then they said to me, why don't you play it? And I said, oh, I don't come in here to play drums or whatever. And they said, well, you play it. And then I forget I don't know the name of the drummer. I've forgotten. but I'm really sorry. But so I ended up playing it, and I really enjoyed playing that track because it was a Small Faces song, but it was I just like the drum part in it.
That's great. A couple of quick questions people have asked. Don Deniston is asking if you still have the Tartan Premiere kit.
Well, I know where it is.
All right, you know where it is. Yeah,
I'm sort of working on it at the moment.
that's a
But
good
you
answer.
know what? It's kind of, you kind of move on. In those, every time I did a tour with the Faces, it was kind of almost a tradition that I would get a new drum kit for each tour.
Yeah.
And it's a different sort of look, a different feel, whatever. So the next time we play a tour I'll do a tour with the Faces, which is going to be some point in the future. I'm working on a new design. Let's put it that way.
All right. Cool.
Won't be none of the old ones.
We were just talking about Stay With Me, and I just have to say that the 2-bar fill that you do at the end of it is the greatest. If it's one of the, if not the greatest breaks ever.
Do you think so?
Absolutely, man.
I cringe every time I get to it. I wish I said, I kept thinking I could have done a lot better than that. But if I don't do it exactly the same, everyone has a go at me. You know, not the band, but just fans and stuff. So I try and keep it more or less exactly the same.
Well, yeah. I want to tell you, I saw you. I think it was the last tour that the original. Well, it wasn't the original because Ronnie Lane wasn't in the band. But in '75, after Woody had played with the Stones,
yeah,
and you guys did a tour. I live outside of Boston, and you guys played in Boston in October of 1975. Peter Frampton was the opening band, if you might remember.
Yeah.
I think they did some dates. And I remember when you played Stay With Me, you did the break, you did the fill at the end, and it wasn't exactly like the record. And I was sort of waiting for it. But what you played, I remember, and I've heard a live version of the song from that tour. You played almost like a Max Roach. How can I explain it? But it was of course very similar, but you even added something even kind of hipper and cooler. You did this like little triplety thing toward the end of it. Do that and that and that and that. Do you remember?
Yeah, I was experimenting.
It was 45 years ago, but 46 years ago, but I remembered. It was like, I was glued to my seat.
I just feel I should have done a really fast parody. Probably been too obvious.
No, it was great. I mean, it was a fabulous show. And I remember you took a extended drum solo during I'm Losing You. Like, as you were just saying, it live, it became, and that was, of course, in those days, everybody played drum solos. So that it made sense. That was like a part of the night where.
Well, it used to be a horror story for me sometimes. I got really tense every time we got to the drum solo. I kept thinking, I wonder what's going to happen now. It's because one time I think we were playing Finsbury Park and a theatre there, and there was a pub. You walked outside the stage door, on the corner of the road, there was a pub. So I started playing, the solo, and all of a sudden it was going on a bit too long. I think, where is everybody? And I'm trying to give this, the sort of counting for Ronnie to come back in, and he's not there. No one's there. This went on and on and on. 20 minutes later, they come running on the stage, started laughing. I was just about to throw the towel in. They went up the pub. So anything can happen in that bloody solo.
Yeah, that's great. I was going to, I know and I apologize, I'm jogging your memory for all this things that happened so long ago, but again, I've always been fascinated with what little I know about you playing on It's Only Rock and Roll, but I like it, which I remember I'd learned that sometime in the early 80s. Then I bought Max Weinberg's book, The Big Beat, where he interviewed you, and you talked a little bit about that. And I know that it was a song that Mick Jagger and Ronnie Wood were sort of jamming on, and they rang you up to come and play, right? Basically to put a reference track, like a.
Well, it was it was a song they hadn't even started really. So when I get there, I mean, when I get this call from Ronnie saying, Kenny, we haven't got a drum out, and oh blimey, and it's always cool when I've got one leg into bed. And I lived on Richmond Park. We both lived around Richmond Park, and at night they closed the gate to Richmond Park. So for me to get to Woodies, going across the park would take me 2 minutes. Go all the way around is it more like 15 minutes or well, a bit longer, 20 minutes. But also I'd had a drink, so I didn't want to get caught for drink driving. So it was a tense moment getting there. I get there. One night it would be Bob Dylan there, another night it'd be Eric Clapton, whatever. This particular night it was just Mick Jagger. So hello Kenny, how are you doing? Yeah, great. So I started playing, I was just playing away. And Ronnie was in the control room working at doing the engineer bit, because he just got a load of outboard equipment, new stuff. So he's playing around with that. He said, keep playing. So just me and Mick together. And suddenly we hit this groove. And Mick said, he said, oh, play it like that. And I went, okay. So I said, it's too late. I'm going to play it like this. I said, anyway, it's only rock and roll. So he was buzzing around. That's how it happened. And we ended up sort of playing it. I just thought nothing more of it. Went home the next day, forgot all about it.
Wow.
Then I got a call saying, oh, you're on the Stones album. I said, what? And they said, well, it's only rock and roll, but I like it. And it says they're single. I went, oh, what? So I called up Charlie straight away. I said, Charlie, I'm really sorry. I never meant this to happen. I would never be, stealing anyone's thunder like that. And he said, all right, it's all right, Kenny, don't worry, because this is the special thing about Charlie. He was such a lovely gentleman. I said, Kenny, it's okay. Sounds like me anyway. So
yeah.
That's just good old Charlie.
Oh, I know. Bless him. I know. Yeah. No, I'd heard that story. Yeah. And it does sound like him. But
funny enough, I was thinking about Charlie when I was playing it. So when you think about that, you kind of I'm sure Charlie. I played Charlie.
Well, it's an amazing track, Kenny. I think, if you had only recorded that one song, I think it puts you at the top of the mountain. I think, because it's such, the feel is so impossible to really.
It's a great feel. I like the feel. Oh. I tell you why. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning and I was bloody tired.
That's the key.
Yeah, no, let's just keep everyone up late. Really sort of keep the drummer up late, because when you get really tired, you're kind of so far behind the beat.
Do you recall? I mean, do you know if the version that we hear on the song is that, did you do a bunch of takes, or were there just a couple of takes, or did it just?
Don't forget, it was a bit more. It was late, and it was just a quick sort of rough demo type song. Yeah. I didn't even think they were going to keep it. So yeah. I think we just probably ran through it a couple of times. That's it.
Well, I had the drummer Andy Newmark. I don't know if you know Andy.
I know Andy.
Yeah, you know Andy. I had Andy on with me a few months ago. We were talking about that because he had done some of Ronnie's solo record. I think just before that, and we were talking about you, and I said I hope to someday talk to Kenny about this, but he recalled there being he recalled a Ludwig kit that Ronnie had set up in his studio. It might have been, he said it might have been one of your old kits, maybe.
No, I gave him a drum kit, which is the worst thing I ever did. That's why he called me up a big time.
So it was one of your old Ludwig kits?
I think it's a blonde one.
You think it's oh, your blonde one?
Yeah, Ludwig, I think.
The maple one, yeah. And I know this is really pushing my luck asking you these questions, but do you remember what the symbols were? I'm guessing they were pasty something.
I would have thought in those days it would have been pasty. Yeah. And I kind of, if I liked a Zildjian, I'd just mix and match them.
Yeah. I mean, it's the hi-hats and the crash that you hit a lot. I mean, it's
sound edge, they were on the hi with but the bevel bottom edge.
Yeah. Yep.
I love that.
And did you ever use the Peisty Giant beats, or you like the 2002s, or do you remember like?
I've used them all at different times, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I've still got the 26-inch Paisley cymbal, which is huge. I recorded that. When I got that, I thought this is such a great sound. And when I was recording with the Small Faces, we did this track called "Rolling Over."
Mm.
And it was like it's all cymbals, like so. And that's how if you listen to "Rolling Over," it's all cymbal.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. I've seen pictures of that 26-inch cymbal.
Yeah.
It's
It's huge.
yeah. And then so that's such a fascinating story that you recorded that song as what you thought was going to be a demo. And I'll just say, as a drummer and as a very I was really into Charlie's playing at that time, and I remember hearing that song on the record in context with the rest of the album, and even at like 13 or 14, it's just sounded really different to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The sound of the drums and the playing, and then I later found out it was you, and it all made sense that okay, that's Kenney Jones. That's
Funny
why.
enough, it's not a lot of people know this. Not a lot of people know this. I played on Bright Eyes as well.
You played on. I'm sorry, on
Bright Eyes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's, you can hardly hear the drums, but it's a fill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice and slow. It must have been 2 o'clock in the morning.
And then, so just fast forward, a couple of years after that, and you were out with Keith Moon the night that he. I hope that's okay to ask you that question. That I know you guys were mates, and you'd been to the movies.
Yeah, I just got off a plane from where was I? Houston or Texas, somewhere like that, and I got me out of the airport and taken straight to the premiere of the Buddy Holly film that Paul McCartney made, and it was like a really, really strange thing, because we went, when you go to a premiere of in Leicester Square, which is a famous Leicester Square where you go to all the premieres, and we went straight to the restaurant as the reception. I said, "What are we doing here? We're supposed to go to the film." They said, "No, we're having the reception now. And then we're going to go to watch the film." So, okay, so we're sitting around the table, and there was me, Paul McCartney, Linda McCartney, Keith, his girlfriend, me, and Paul's brother, who was a member of the Scaffold. And we're just chatting around. Oh, and Sir, what's his name? Frost.
George Martin?
No, not George Martin.
No.
He was making the tea.
Oh. Looks like you have company back there.
So David Frost, there you go.
Oh, David Frost, yeah.
So it's quite a serious little table there. And I was telling Keith, I said, he said, what have you been doing? I said, I come straight off a plane. I've got just forming a new band, and I'm doing it with Glyn Johns, who's going to produce it. It's kind of half American, half English. And I'll tell him all about it. I'm quite excited about that. And I said, "How you been?" He said, "Great." He said, I'm sober. I'm not taking any drugs or drink or whatever. So I said, you look great, no problem. He said, "Yeah, no." He said, "Great." So he said, "I have to take these pills. If I ever feel like a drink, it makes me violently ill, so I don't drink." Then after this got to and fro with conversation, we walked around the corner to see the film, the Buddy Holly film. And when that finished, we all came, said goodbye to each other. And I said goodbye to Keith. I said, "I'll see you later, Keith." No problem. And then the next day when I woke up, I put the TV on, and the news came on. And he said, "Oh, Keith Moon, drummer, was found dead in his apartment from a drug overdose." I went, "What?" I said, "It can't be true," because I thought, it's just a bloody joke. It's a joke. It's just doing. So what's he up to now? And sure enough, it was true. And that's awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's,
yeah, I know.
well, and, you know,
It's in my
and
book. If you get my book, it's in the book. And it's all in there.
I think I have your book, Kenny, and and why I haven't read it, I'm embarrassed to say I don't know, but I think I have it. I think I bought it somewhere. Um,
Yeah.
well, I'm not going to take time from
Yeah.
while we're live to go look,
Don't read it now, for God's sake.
I'll read a chapter. No, but I think someone, either I bought it or someone sent it to me, and I'm going to take a picture and email it to you, so I can prove to you that I have it, and I'm going to read it.
I believe you. Don't worry.
But thank you for telling. And then I just have to say you're playing with the Who. I thought was perfect, and it was, as many people have said, it wasn't, they didn't want somebody to come in and play just like Keith Moon. And I thought what you brought to the band
It would
was,
have been wrong for me to do that. It would have been totally wrong for me to do that. There's
yeah,
certain fills I really liked certain fills that Keith played, and I loved his drumming anyway. But so I thought I can only play me, and I'm a lot straighter drummer than Keith.
yeah,
And so, but some of the fills I thought, well, I've got to do them near enough like Keith if I can, because they're really nice to play. So that's the nearest I got to it.
yeah. And you absolutely did it, and I've heard you say this in other interviews where, like, Won't Get Fooled Again, and that songs that required playing those fills. I mean, you absolutely gave the integrity of those.
You kind of put yourself into that performance of playing that kind of song. I mean, that's a great song to play drums to. That and Who Are You, all that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So you have to do your best.
Absolutely. But I think some of the songs you recorded yourself with the Who, like Athena and Eminence Front.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Eminence Front is, and Athena too, like, the snare drum work that you're playing during those.
And the other one I like as well, Cry If You Want.
Yeah.
Just because it's very same sort of thing. It's like military sort of beat, but when you get yourself into it and get yourself into that mood of playing,
Yeah, no, it's some fabulous drumming, and
thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, and whenever I hear Eminence Front, it's just that the pocket is just so undeniable. It's just,
there's lovely little turnarounds on the bass drum in that, which is kind of
boom boom zap boom boom and so did you track that with, like, along to a click track? Did you record it?
I did it with a click. Yeah,
you did. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was. I can almost forget the click in a sense, because once you get into that mood, you never leave. It never leaves you.
Yeah. Because I mean, that was 1982. So had you worked much with a click before that, or was that kind of a new thing for you?
I did lots of sessions. Whilst I was in the Small Faces and all the way through, and I'd been often asked to play to a click, so I got used to playing to a click.
That explains it. Yeah.
In those days, it really was just a click.
Yeah.
But then later on, I preferred to play to a percussion track.
Right. Yeah. But back then it was just a sterile, just a
click,
yeah, just a pop in your ear. I was just going to say, another question came from a friend of mine, Anthony Cucina, asked if there's anything that you're working on. Where did I see that? Anything you're working on these days to improve your playing? Any practice tips or exercises?
I'm constantly trying to. I like to play certain things and just sort of stumble upon things, and if I do, that stays with me for a while. But I'm pretty much the same sort of. What I do is I like to play me. I can only play me. I never like to copy anyone or do anything like that. It's just me.
Yeah.
People ask me, how do you do this? I say, I don't know. I just play it.
That's a perfect answer. I was going to ask you too. I had written this down and I sort of skipped by it. And I should know the answer, but I'm going to ask the studio version of Twisting the Night Away that you got, the cover version that Rod did. Is that you on that track as well?
I can't remember, to be honest.
It's a,
Would have thought so.
yeah, I think I think it is you, and I'll look it up. Yeah. Yeah. But I know you played that live probably a million times.
I used to, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Has some great fills. Well, um, I know you didn't have a lot of time, and I should,
So,
we could, is there anything you want to talk about that you want to talk about what you're doing right now, some things, or?
well, I'm having once I finish this glass of water, I'm going to have a real drink.
Good man.
No,
Good.
I'm kind of. I've got my own band called the Jones Gang, and which is a horrible name, but we've got a great band, and it's we're rehearsing on Thursday, I think. So we've got a couple of gigs coming up. I'm looking forward to that.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And so I'm terrible when it comes to practicing. My practice is when I'm playing with the band live, playing for real. I kind of cheat as I get older, and I kind of sit behind the drums and play. And I practice all my rudiments, all the rudiments, all the rolls and paradiddles and God knows what, things like that. Keep sort of loose like that. There's nothing like playing for real.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's so different when you're on your own. When all you want to do is play with a band.
Nothing like it. Do you ever play to, what I do to just sort of stay loose is I take my music on my phone and run it through a mixer and listen through headphones and sort of play along to it.
I do that. I do it with my iPhone, put it in there, put it in here,
Yeah.
so play away like that.
I play along to you often, in fact. So it's, yeah. No, yeah, but I know exactly what you mean. It's hard to sit down. I'm
Yeah.
a little younger than you, but it's just hard to sit down.
It's so frustrating when you do that, because sometimes something always goes wrong with the battery or the headphones or something.
Yeah. And I should also just add, just for all the drummers watching this, and there's a lot of drummers watching, you've been with Yamaha drums now since the early 80s.
I think I'm the oldest endorsee ever. I've been with them since 1973 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what you're using. So like when you do these gigs, you'll be out playing. I know
I'm a great believer in Yamaha drums, and the sound of them has always been superb, and the quality of them has always been superb. I mean, I remember I love Ludwig drums, but what happened was, I think Ludwig went through a phase where they sold all their wood to America, and they couldn't get any decent wood in America because they sold it to Japan. And that's they bought all the weathered wood. And I remember getting a drum kit on a session once. It was a Ludwig one, and I thought, this looks a bit shoddy. This, I don't know. I dug my finger through the. I could dig it through the shell.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's a sad moment for Ludwig. Although Ludwig are brilliant now.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that happen when America sells all their good wood, other wood, to the Japanese. That's what it's going to happen. So them copy guitars, all the Gibsons,
Yeah.
make great copies.
Yeah, they've definitely. I mean, you're right though. They've turned it around here in the States. They've come back to be a viable company, which is great. Good to see them. And I just want to mention a quick comment before I let you run, Kenny. A friend of mine, Jim McGaffey, we worked together at Zildjian, in fact, for many years. Big fan of yours. Said anything off Face Dances really is rhythm magic. The Quiet One, you, all hoop chestnuts.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I can't agree.
But this has been so fantastic. I may bother you in the future to do another one of these. Maybe.
Anytime. I really enjoy it. I like the fact that other people, we're just talking drums and that sort of thing. It's nice, actually.
It is. Yeah.
Any guitarist batting in, or singers.
That's right. Yeah, we could. Yeah. Who needs singers?
We do.
Well,
unfortunately.
If you can hang with me for 1 second, Kenny, I'm going to I'll end the live stream and I'll come back and just for one more second before we say goodbye, if you would. Thank you. So everybody, thanks for watching. Big hand for Kenney Jones. legendary.
And you guys.
Thank you. And this has been so great. Thank you. And yeah, okay. Hang tight for 1 second, Kenny, if you would.